Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a Premier League presentation. We're going to be bringing you guys a game between Virtus.Pro and Kaipi Gaming. Going to be a best-of-one series here to kick off the Premier League Season 5. It's been a little while since I've been on the microphone for TPL, but now happy to be able to jump back on into it and bring you guys some awesome Dota. That's the plan for today. We have a full tournament packed out for you guys. I think it's going to be like 9 hours straight of Dota. It's just going to be ridiculous what we are able to come out with. And yeah, getting on in, we're loading on into the game as we speak. And it's going to be an interesting series between these two teams. Kaipi, kind of one of those up-and-coming teams. Their roster has been more solidified over the past month or so. Unfortunately, didn't get into those Western qualifiers to kind of show themselves there, but they have a lot to prove, and they're going to be going up against Virtus.Pro here. So finally loading on into the draft. Jumping on over here, once again, I am Blaze. Joining me, although not by video, but at least by audio here, is Triumph of Man. How's it going, man?
Oh, it's pretty good. Unfortunately, I don't have a camera available tonight. We'll be back for next week's Cup. And whoa, we got some quick bans there. Wisp being banned along with a Batrider. Furion also being banned up by Virtus.Pro as well as the Keeper. Interesting the fact that they banned out the Nature's Prophet because they actually play a hell of a lot of Furion. I was actually really expecting them to pick that up. However, you know what, Blaze? I'm kind of expecting... There we go. Bane was going to... I was going to say we have a pretty much 100% chance of Bane being picked tonight because both these teams grab it up like his candy. They love it. They love their Bane, both of these teams. So here we go.
Absolutely. I mean, the common first pick availability right here for Kaipi is picking up the Bane, not only to synergize well with the Keeper Life, they can get their hands on that, but also to counteract this Lone Druid here. The Nightmare is so good to deal with an offlane Lone Druid and make sure he cannot manipulate the creep Aggo with his Spirit Bear. So that's going to be their main intention, is to lock things down with Enfeeble and Fiend's Grip and just get a lot of great disables to kind of screw the opposition over. And that negates a lot of high presence carries like the Lifestealer, which is still on the board and might be picked up from Virtus.Pro in that second phase. So we'll see what they follow it up with here, if they're actually going to build up their tri-lane a little bit more extensively with something that can follow up on the Bane, like a Lina or a Leshrac, or if they're just kind of going to go with what they want to expand out their lanes and kind of get a more well-rounded draft with this Darkseer now to go on the off lane.
Yeah, well, Kaipi, they tend to play a sort of a fairly slow lineup. They really do like their right-click damage late-game heroes. It's common to see stuff like Cancel Lancer, Anti-Mage, or Void. They really want to have one of those really solid carries for the late game, whereas Virtus.Pro, on the other hand, they're very aggressive. They like to fight, they like to push. They really like to get active. They don't like to sit back and sort of just wait the game out. So we've already got the Lone Druid there from Virtus.Pro. We'll see what else they're going to pick up here, but I do expect that they're going to try and solidify their push elements. And speaking of heroes who can control the Lone Druid, stuff we've actually been seeing recently has been the Razor pickups, although because of the static link of the bear is really, really irritating to have to deal with that, and it gives them tons and tons of damage. That said, though, I don't really think Kaipi are going to find that much room to work in. I don't think they'll try and switch up their draft that much, because I don't think it's a hero that they've experimented with all that much, Blaze.
So what do you think about Virtus.Pro's next pickups? I mean, they have a kind of a whole world open to them. The heroes like Magnus is something they've played quite a bit for TMW, and they could control the mid lane pretty well with that, but there's still a lot of counterpicks against the Magnus, like the Puck or the Queen of Pain. What do you think would be the best way for Virtus.Pro to kind of lay the groundwork for their draft right here?
I think they want to get... I think they could go for something like a Magnus, definitely possible. I mean, Magnus is very flexible at the same time, but it looks like they're just going to grab a Rubik. And I do like the Rubik pick because it's really, really good against the Bane. It's like picking it up against the Enigma. It's pretty much a really big guaranteed disable that you can steal. It's a very, very fantastic thing. And then we've also got the Clockwork being picked as well. So we've got lots of like really gank-happy heroes here. We've got the Clockwork and push-happy as well. We've got the Lone Druid as well. So like I said, Virtus.Pro, they're going to go for that really aggressive early mid-game, and they're going to have a very difficult... Kaipi is going to be in a lot of danger, I think. It's going to be difficult for them to defend against stuff like Clockwork. So I like the fact that they picked him up. The question is where they're going to put him, because Lone Druid is one of the heroes that's very flexible, can take a lot of different roles in different lanes, so it's very difficult to tell where Virtus.Pro are going to stick this. I mean, Clockwork, we've seen him used as support roles, sort of supportive role, can even take the offlane, or even really feel like you can throw him in the middle with the cogs as well, because he can look after himself in that sort of situation. We see the bans there, Blaze. It looks like Virtus.Pro are going to get rid of some of those big right-click late-game carries, the Anti-Mage as well as the Phantom Lancer banned out there.
Yeah, and a lot of core heroes actually being banned out. Weaver and Gyrocopter are very scalable and very farm-reliant as well, so a lot of intention out of that. Basically, that's going to be the main thing, is who's going to be picking that up there.
One second. Apparently, I cannot be heard in-game at the moment. Not sure what's going on there.
Okay. Hopefully you can figure that
one out. I'll let you continue on then while I try and fix that.
Yeah, what we're looking at here, I mean, the Rubik, the Clockwork will probably be a supportive combo, just setting up the telekinesis into the cogs or right next to it to get the knockback there. Either way, it's still going to be very, very effective, and they just kind of want to carry to synergize with that. I think Kaipi kind of have the upper hand when it comes down to 6 carries being banned out in the second banning stage, is the fact that Eternal Envy seems a lot more flexible of a carry player than Illidan. Like, he has so many different unorthodox heroes he likes to pick up in a competitive draft that it definitely, he doesn't feel nearly as penned in when you compare it to Illidan, who, you know, he has his top 3. And so, with the Gyrocopter being taken out, along with the Phantom Lancer Lifestealer, he does have less options available, and they don't even have that kind of unorthodox Outward Devourer that they've run a couple of times previously, so we'll see. But for right now, an interesting possibility for both lineups here is to pick up some carries that we usually don't get to see and see how effective they'll be. Maybe something like an Alchemist could be used to pretty great effect here if he can get a Black King bar up early enough to nullify the potential of Visage and Bane, that kind of thing. But yeah, still one way or another. I think that Virtus.Pro have the most potential in the mid game based on Clockwork closing distance on Bane and kind of shutting down that Fiend's Grip. The big thing they're going to have to avoid, though, is those big Darkseer vacuums if Kaipi drafts up some more follow-up AoE. But for right now, Lina being the primary damage dealer in an AoE sense means she's probably going to be supporting with Rubik, leaving Clockwork for the mid lane, while Kaipi is going to pick up the Faceless Void for Eternal Envy.
Okay, I think that should be fixed now. I hope it's fixed now. Hopefully everybody can hear me now. But there we go. There's that Alchemist you were talking about, Blaze. They have decided to pick that up. So Virtus.Pro, they've got a really, really scrappy lineup. In fact, I mean, they wanted to. Lina, Rubik, Alchemist, that's something they could send into an offensive tri lane if they wanted to try and shut down the Void's farm. Because they can if they can cripple Void's farm towards that lake, I think they've really got a good chance of just basically getting Lone Draw into a strong position where Kaipi won't really have an opportunity to stop him, especially when they've got the team fight power of Clockwork. I mean, you've got Void there, obviously, who can cause quite a bit of a mess with his ult, and then they've got Bane there. They've got some good lockdown, but at the same time, if Clockwork can get in and split the fight up, he can make it very, very difficult for Kaipi to get to a position. Whoa!
That's gonna be fun.
Wow, okay. A Zeus pick, so a big curveball there from KPRTZ.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting. I've seen this a couple times before, but it has some limited success, some great success. It really depends on really how the early game goes. Starting off, Arteezy is going to be 1v1 versus the Clockwork, so it's definitely going to be a very viable position for him, but it's going to be really interesting to see how effective this is going to be, with a little bit of extra burst damage, with of course Thunder God's Wrath going for global presence, and then as a whole just kind of going for the burst potential, just really incinerating the opposition with some powerful magic damage. Not much disable, but that's what the Bane's there for, that's what the Visage is there for, so hopefully it'll work out for them, because of course it's very interesting to see those dynamic picks. But let's go ahead and go on through the lineups. Do you want to start with Virtus.Pro?
Yeah, well, we've got NS playing the Rubik, we've got Illidan playing the Alchemist, KSR Lone Druid, Smile there, also known as ars-art on the Lina, and Tame My Wild there on the Clockwork picks.
And yep, we're going to be seeing Bone 7 go on the offlane Darkseer. We're going to be looking at, of course, Arteezy on that Zeus, going for a bottle very early on. Pylight is going to be running that Bane, which is pretty common for him. Interesting starting items for Eternal Envy on the Faceless Void, carrying it up with just a Stout Shield, and Tango's probably going to be going for a Poor Man's Shield very early on, if he feels it's comfortable in the laning circumstance. Either way, Come With Me is going to be the final member of Kaipi going up on that Visage, just supporting once again up on that top lane.
Yeah, we're just going to have a pause there, wait for them to sort that out. I am definitely very worried for Kaipi. I mean, I feel like they're going to be a little bit too predictable here. Virtus.Pro do go offensive and try and shut down their bot. I don't think they've got a lot to keep them in this game. I mean, obviously Storm Spirit, it's not the Storm Spirit. Obviously the Zeus is definitely quite a bit of a powerhouse once he gets a few levels up there. But I feel like he alone is not really even carry this for them, because it's going to take a little while for Darkseer to get up and running. Obviously, if you can get that fast pipe / mech, he can really keep them in the game there. But I feel like Rubik is going to cause a lot of damage, as well as the Lina. I just don't feel like Kaipi have got enough to keep him, because they're going to be pretty much really reliant on Void being able to show up with his ult there to control these fights, especially in the early game. And I don't think they're going to have, he's not going to be mobile enough to stop the kind of damage that Clockwork is going to inflict on the map.
Yeah, this will definitely be impactful. Like you said, they're probably going to go for this aggressive tri lane. Surprised they're actually making all this movement towards the bot lane for the moment. Maybe expecting possibly Kaipi to go aggressive, but that's pretty much impossible in my mind with the Faceless Void. Even though the Visage is great in try versus try, the Faceless Void wants to get some independent farm, and that means he's going to go on that top lane. So in this position here, it looks like they're dodging the try versus try. They're letting KSI possibly just go and start off in the jungle and guaranteeing the Alchemist some early farm. So right now, now, the Lone Druid, although he's a great offlane hero in general, up against a Bane, he's not going to find that dedicated source of farm. So I don't think that we're going to see too much action coming out from KSI, as he's probably going to relegate himself into just farming up that jungle there with the Quelling Blade and Stout Shield.
It seems like that is going to be their plan there. That said, I suppose, I mean, if they're just going to get, like, this is definitely okay for them, just sacrificing this top lane. I mean, they're playing a little bit greedy here, but at the same time, they can afford to play greedy because Void does take a little bit of, he does take considerable amount of time to get into the game. It's not like an anti-mage who can completely, anti-mage, even though, you know, he's, you know, sort of the epitome of a late game hard carry, he can still deal a lot of right-click damage early on, whereas Faceless Void really isn't that fantastic as a damage dealer when it comes to the early mid-game. He doesn't have that huge mana burn, which is really, really painful. That said, though, actually it looks like they might possibly be rotating here for a bit of a smoke gank on mid, and of course, Zeus is definitely quite vulnerable to this. Meanwhile, though, we do have the Bane swing down the bottom, but here we go. Early level 1 gank here on the Zeus. Zeus in a lot of trouble. There's telekinesis into the cogs. Lena's going to follow up with a stun, although a bit of a save there coming out from the Bane. I don't think it's going to be enough to keep him in the game, though. There we go. Easy first blood.
And drop him down. A little bit of right-click damage going the way against Smile, so ars-art will be taking a few hits there. But unfortunately, yeah, the Nightmare is not going to be good enough when they can just bring out a zap of magic damage to wake him on up and bring him on down. Just good movement, good telekinesis, cogs, and really using that smoke gank early on to great effect. And this is why we don't see Zeus as actively in the competitive scene, is because of the fact that he is so gankable. No escapes, relatively low starting strength, and base armor means that he is going to drop down very, very quickly. And despite going for a very economic build, having to TP back to the lane and even buying a second TP here means that his bottle is very, very delayed.
Yeah, it's going to be annoying for him, but he'll get it back in fairly. I mean, it's really hard to stop Zeus from getting a bottle. All he's got to do is spam chain lightning a few times, and here we go. He's already one creep kill away from having that bottle up and running. 2 minutes isn't terrible. I mean, obviously, he would have liked to have it before that. He wanted to go and get that 2-minute rune as well, but at the same time, it's not going to cripple him that badly. But I think the bigger problem is, like you said, he's squishy, he's easy to gank, and the fact is that can just set the pace of the game. I mean, every time these supports on Virtus.Pro grab themselves a smoke, they can just go over there and basically jump on Zeus and beat him up, steal his money. So I think he's really going to have to watch out for that. In fact, you see, I think this is going to be a serious issue in the fact that he's not going to be able to free farm as easily. Like, he's going to have to always be really, really scared about that smoke gank. And Bane at the moment looks like he's just going to chill down in this bottom lane here. I think he's just getting ready to stack and just cause some. Oh, just get ready for that sort of later in the game. But Blaze, this is what I'm really worried about here: the fact that Lone Druid is getting the farm that he needs at the moment, and the fact Alchemist is getting the farm he needs. The supports, obviously, on Virtus.Pro side are getting a few levels. They're getting experience, and I feel like at about the 20-25 minute mark, we're going to see Virtus.Pro launch an all-out assault, and it's going to be something that Kaipi are going to struggle to stop just because Void is not going to be in a position where he can really help. Bane's going to be super on level. See, Bane's still stuck at level 1, and, I mean, even then, Darkseer is not that fantastic that early on either.
Yeah, I mean, there's some back and forth. I mean, pretty much what both teams have kind of decided is we're going to let the enemy get what they want and just focus on ourselves, focus on prioritizing our own personal farm, and that is going to mean that there's some still good things for Kaipi. I mean, Bane getting some early experience from maybe pulls would be really good to get Fiend's Grip out early. Right now, just kind of babysitting on the mid lane, which is comparatively unfavorable, but of course it does mean that kind of Arteezy is secure on the mid. Either way, the big thing here is that top Eternal Envy is, I believe, a Midas. Midas recipe is going to be coming up on that courier there, and the big thing is Eternal Envy went such a conservative build. I talked about those tangos and Stout Shield, and it's because he didn't want to spend more than 340 gold before he started things off to just rush out that Midas, and that will allow him to rubber band back very, very quickly. The 30 attack speed isn't bad at all, with the fact that he's going to go for maxing time lock, and then on top of that, he's going to get tons of gold, tons of experience very early on, and he's only 250 gold shy of that. So although it will take him a little bit more time to come back online, when he does come online, it's going to be immense how much he can put out and how directly he can compete with this Alchemist who comparatively is maxing out that Grieveless Greed.
Yeah, it's really going to come down to whether or not he can essentially come online in time. To see Darkseer now using that double Iron Shell there just to give Alchemist a bit of grief. Obviously, it's really, really painful to stand anywhere near those Iron Shells, let alone 2 of them. So he is going to get beaten up a little bit by that. But at the same time, no other pressure down here, so he should be okay. Meanwhile, Zeus is just going to check out the bottom rune here. Should be able to pick up that. He may be in a bit of trouble here. Lena coming down on top of him along with the Rubik. Could get dumped up on a high ground here. No, actually, he's going to walk away in time. Won't get caught out by that, thanks to the ward and the high ground there. Spotting up Lena as well as the Rubik there. But Blaze, I mean, it looks like they're just trying to give Bane a little bit of farm and a little bit of levels now.
Yeah, exactly. They're allowing him to actually jump in and focus on a little bit of, not solo experience necessarily, but at least find a couple kills here and there, because a level 1 Bane isn't all that effective. You're not going to get any damage nuke or healing from the Brain Sap. You're just going to come around and be a walking nightmare, and although that sounds pretty cool when you use that as like a heavy metal band name, I don't think it's going to be very effective in this game, just running around level 1, not really changing the pace of the game. So they want to get him some experience, and along with that, Come With Me is going to be their kind of priority for supportive leveling on up. Visage will be getting his familiars relatively early, and I think that's going to be a big thing. If you look at the levels as a whole, there's been a lot of roaming and movement from the Rubik and the Lina, and that has made it so the Bane has to stay in the lane, has been deprived of levels, but Come With Me has just been farming away, and he's about to hit level 5, and at that point he's going to be comparatively much stronger in his abilities.
Well, we've also got to keep in mind, speaking of the Lina and the Rubik roaming about, they're not essentially roaming, but basically not appearing on the map. This is what's got them this is what's got Kaipi so worried, and why they're playing conservatively with this Bane, keeping him around to babysit Arteezy. See, Arteezy is hanging all the way back with his Zeus, really worried about being ganked. At the same time, Darkseer on the bottom lane also playing really scared. Like, he doesn't come anywhere near the creep wave. He obviously sends the iron shells out to do a little bit of fun, but he's not really getting experience. And Darkseer is a very level dependent hero. Wants to max out vacuum, iron shell, surge, wants to get his wall. He's really dependent on those levels going to those mid game fights. So with Lina and Rubik, sure, they're not getting as much experience themselves, but they've got 3 heroes here playing extremely defensively. So I think in the end, that's a net win for Virtus.Pro, who may actually, looks like they're going to be getting themselves a gank up on the top lane here, Blaze.
Yeah, starting off, they have the haste run on the Clockwork, easily closing the distance here on top of the Visage, going for the hook shot just to make sure of it. Cogs as well, all 3 pop. This could be a solo kill, but they have 2 supports to back him up. To go in for the Faces Void, Eternal Envy pops off that ultimate. There is also the Thunder God's Wrath coming on through. Visage buys back. Are there going to be enough right clicks to bring on Team W? No. Light Striker connects, and that haste speeds the Clockwork away. So there is the attempt to throw 2 ultimates back the other direction. Bane will try to connect with him as well, but instead just nightmaring up the Rubik, setting him up to be dropped down. There's the Grave Chill. There's the transfer of that Nightmare to be able to interrupt it here. Brain Sap and a couple right clicks will come out. There's the Soul Jump to connect, bringing down NS in turn. Lina also taking some hits here. Zeus doing a lot of damage, but dropping down from that Light Strike array. Arteezy shouldn't be able to get in range. Now, that Lightning Bolt just not going to be far enough out to actually bring her down. But they did pick up 1 kill, and they did, of course, keep the Face of Void alive, but it cost the buyback of Come With Me. So that's going to deprive him of some early potential for Arcane Boots or Mechanism.
I'm going to say that was a beautiful LSA there up onto the high ground. He threw that one blind and managed to hit Zeus, keeping him again. If he didn't hit Zeus, it was a good chance Zeus was just going to keep up the chase and then just drop him with the next Thunder Blast there. So that was definitely a really good shot there from Lina. Got to say, bottom lane though, again, see Darkseer, he's only just hit level 5, 7.5 minutes in. He's really not doing too well for levels. And it looks like they might actually just jump in. They might actually take a crack at him right now, because we've got Clockwork in the jungle looking for a hook. And of course, Cogs is really going to mess up any chance of surging away to safety. Oh! Misses a hook. Well, there you go. Should be able to walk away from that.
Yeah, Light Striker could be attempted by ars-art. He got the nice Observer Ward up to get some vision up, and now he's actually pinned down. This Light Striker can come on through easily with the battery cell, getting a couple easy ticks there, and with the Rocket Flare and a couple right clicks, they actually do bring him down. So, yeah. Honestly, Bone 7 playing extremely cautiously, trying to dodge so hard that he just pinned himself into a corner where he just couldn't get out.
I was just thinking, he's away scot-free, and then he ran into a corner. Oh, man. I was thinking maybe he was thinking about trying to vacuum. He doesn't even have vacuum. The only thing I could think of was he was going to vacuum a pass into the trees and then jump out through the back there. But, yeah, he didn't have vacuum even leveled, so I'm not sure what he was trying to do. I mean, he could have just surged and just belted his way out of there. I don't think there was really any opportunity for Lina to even land a shot. I mean, everybody's probably tried to take a crack at someone who's hasted with Light Strike, right? It's not something you can really land all that easily at all. He could just hit that surge and got the hell out of dodge. So, I think unfortunately Darkseer, Bone 7, sort of outplaying himself a little bit there, more than anything else.
Yeah, pretty accurate sentiment there. It's pretty much he could have just kept on moving, but unfortunately he tried to mind game it a little bit and be very ambitious in trying to escape, and just going way too deep into it. Now we do see more Midases coming on the field. We have one up on KSI, transferring it over to the Druid himself to make sure he gets the bonus experience. And then Alchemist and Face of Void, of course, have been going at it. We also hear a hookshot connecting on Bone 7. Light Striker will not connect, but the damage from the Battery Assault is there. It's been maxed out, so it does a ton of damage, along with that of Lina. And we do see the Nightmare coming on through. They don't actually connect onto the Clockwork. And with the Thunder God's Wrath waking up Smile, they're all able to kind of walk away here. So not too much going on there. Up on the top line, we do see the Lone Druid now with his maxed out Bear trying to put some pressure out onto Eternal Envy. And that is kind of pretty much the first time this entire game he's been contested. But unfortunately for him, he doesn't have the highest CS count to show for it. 66 isn't bad at all in 9.5 minutes, but compared to the fact that he was up against 0 people this entire game, you'd expect just a little bit more. Either way, right now he's doing pretty good moving in. He's going to have 1,000 gold with this next Midas and could be moving in towards bigger and better items. What do you think is going to be the best early pickup for a Faceless Void at this stage?
I think we're probably going to see him try to get something that can get him into the fight fairly early, so maybe, I mean, he might just go for something quick like an early Mask of Madness in second. Yeah, there we go. He's going for an early Mask of Madness, picked up the Morbid Mask, so he'll be getting that attack speed up as soon as possible. Should, as I mentioned, during that last gank down the bottom lane, Virtus.Pro nearly lost their courier, nearly gave that away. That would have been a huge boost in cash for Kaipi, especially some of the really, really underfarmed, struggling supports like the Bane. Still level 3, not doing too well there at all. I really dig what Virtus.Pro did. I mean, even though Lina and Rubik weren't moving around a lot, they just spent most of their time just farming in the jungle, farming and just getting levels and experience. The fact that they were essentially invisible the entire time has really stuffed up Kaipi. They've had so many heroes now that are currently under level.
Oh, hookshot in the mid lane, connecting onto Arteezy. A lot of battery assault going on through. Even Arc Lightning to do a little bit of damage from the Rubik here. Fade Poke going across. Little blast of lightning everywhere, and they're going to be able to bring him down nicely. TMW playing so aggressive with his clockwork and can manage it. He picked up a regen rune, so he's going to be back up to snuff, and a minute from now, ready to go for another gank.
Speaking of ganks, we've just seen Kaipi. They have picked up a smoke there. Visage just picked one. It looks like they're getting ready to try and jump somebody here. I've got to say, though, I mean, this is probably, like you said, why we don't see a lot of Jesus. He's just so easy to pick off, and it's really difficult to keep him alive, especially against heroes like Clockwork, who can just set up a fight whenever and wherever they want. Meanwhile, though, speaking of contesting, it looks like Envy's finally going to be under some pressure as Lone Druid heads to the top lane. He's got to be fairly careful, though. Still no wards up the top lane, so he doesn't really have much idea of what might be waiting in that jungle to try it. And Vasuda's asking if the entire Dota TV I mean, I hope the entire Dota TV hasn't crashed, but we'll see.
Alrighty, so it looks like my stream and stuff have been set up back online, so we're good to go there. Sorry about the unexpected catastrophic errors there, but we're back online here. If you wouldn't mind real quick, David, if you would just let the people in Dota TV know that they have to toggle their audio on our channel real quick to make sure that I'm still able to be heard. Otherwise, yeah, they just hear you for the rest of the game, and that's obviously something I can't control, but just if they turn to like default audio and then back to us, they should be good.
Yep, 1 sec. Alright, so guys, if you're listening in, you need to toggle the audio off and then toggle it back on in Dota TV. That should allow you to hear Blaze once again. I'd also just put that out in the chat there, so anybody who isn't listening, but I can see that can just toggle it on and off just in case they had it muted for a second there. But anyway, guys, so if you've done that, we should be back up and running. So Blaze, how much do you actually crash out of the game as well?
Yeah,
or?
Totally. So if you would like to bring me up to speed the past 2 minutes, what have I been missing?
Oh, basically, Alchemist has started to get active. This is where this is what I was worried about. Once Alchemist gets active, and pretty soon, because I mean, this is only 15 minutes, and pretty soon we're going to see Lone Druid come online. I'm pretty sure he's going for a Radiance. He's managed to save up 2,000 gold there. Didn't go for the armlet build, so I'm pretty sure we're going to see a Radiance. And 25 minute mark, he'll have that by 25 minutes latest. And this is where they've got this super aggressive Alchemist now charging around with a Shadow Blade and just unleashing unstable concoctions, setting up stuns, setting up ganks, and it's very difficult for Kaipi to deal with. They just don't really have much of an answer to this, and now they've got to be so scared about this, especially since this top tower's about to go down. So I think they're in a bit of a bad way, and this is buying lots of time and room for Lone Druid to get where he wants to go. And once he gets that Radiance, I think they're just going to, like I said, they're going to unleash that all-out assault and just start blitzing down towers.
Exactly. That's the main thing, is putting out a lot of aggression at this point in time, where they're kind of comparatively at their strongest. Of course, you would prefer the carries like Lone Druid and Alchemist to get as much farm as possible, but still, in this position, comparing that to the Faceless Void's late game potential, the Shadow Blade and just a quick armlet on the Spirit Bear would be sufficient for them to just maul down towers quickly and deal with any team fight that Kaipi really brings right now, unless the Darkseer gets some amazing wall replicas off. So, looks like we're pretty well good, but obviously, I think we're all set. Are they waiting on anything as far as the in-game players, or is it all about this?
I think they're just waiting on us. They're saying, yeah, it's your call when to start.
Okay, so they can unpause it at any point in time. We actually, as broadcasters, don't actually have the power to do that, so hopefully they should be good. But Virtus.Pro needs a small moment to get it going. It looks like the stream is all set, though. The 2-minute delay has kicked in, and we see it all active. And yeah, that was a little annoying, but now we're going on forward. Let's see. We have the Mask of Madness and Treads up on Faceless Void. Very ambitious build here. It means I've seen Eternal Envy run it time and time again, but pretty much means that he has to get Ball or Chronos off. He has to get the Chronospheres catching out all the main damage dealers. Otherwise, that Mask of Madness active is going to do more harm than good because he does receive so much increased damage. A simple Laguna Blade that's not backtrack could take away a very substantial chunk of his HP. So, going to be playing pretty defensively, but you know, when he gets the window of opportunity, gets a great Chronosphere off, the Mask of Madness is going to be the highest damage output he could possibly have at this stage of the game. So still a really high potential item, and just has to use it appropriately. But for right now, one thing about that initiation potential is vision, and it doesn't seem like Dire have a lot of it. Kaipi's wards have been just nullified completely with a couple of good sentries, and they haven't really made up for them just yet.
So, I mean, here comes this Shadow Blade, and he's just going to jump in on top of him with the Concoction. And this has been happening while you're going like 3-4 ganks just like this. And it's just the invisible Shadow Blade setting up the Concoction. It's just nothing they can do about it. So here, a hook shot in as well.
Oh, double cogs. They do get the time walk, but still too much damage coming in. Chronosphere comes out on 2. TMW can take a lot of hits here. NS does have the Brain Sap doing a little bit of damage here, but the big thing is that Illidan is just too beefy. You can take down the Clockwork with relative ease, but Illidan is able to do so much damage. Could go for the Courier here with that Shadow Blade active. What is the little piggy doing? Unfortunately, he is dying because there is going to be a quick swing of the Cleaver to bring that down. And meanwhile, on bot lane, the Tier 1 drops to the Lone Druid, just popping off that Battle Cry and having enough right-click damage makes a huge impact there. So they get another gold advantage. Now, we did see that Lina, despite being able to teleport back to base, was brought down by Arteezy's ultimate, the Thunder God's Wrath, but very minimal recompense for the damage they suffered on 2 Tier 1 towers and a couple of hero kills.
Yeah, I mean, this is just how it's going to go. I mean, Lena obviously probably cursing right there. She was in the fountain when she died, thinking she was away scot-free. Oh, wait a minute. Virtus.Pro, they've actually, KSI is actually going for a Maelstrom, I think. The bear just died. Hang on 1 second. There we go. Yeah, he is actually going for a Maelstrom. It's interesting. It's not the armlet build that we normally see these days, so he's going for the Maelstrom at the moment. And he'll be going for that Battle Bear build as well. I mean, it's sure it's not the Radiance, but at the same time, I think they're going to be able to do a ton of damage with this. And they are, and I mean, the attack speed as well is just also going to be really, really useful. Obviously, the Demolish just makes towers melt away so quickly. Speaking of which, just looking at those early items, I mean, if there's anything that Virtus.Pro want, and anything that's really going to help Kaipi hold on, it's just going to be Zeus spamming nukes like crazy, because, you know, right now they don't have that mech, or even anything like a Juggernaut Healing Ward to keep them in the fight. It's going to be fairly difficult for them to sustain a push, so they're going to have to hit back up, rather than just continually just pushing all at once. As it looks like we've got a bit of a gank happening here in the jungle, Blaze.
Yeah, trying to find an opportunity to bring down Eternal Envy, moving around with that Shadow Blade active. Very, very quick on his feet when you consider the Chemical Rage on top of that, but not finding anybody just yet. Has to keep those wards up, be a little patient. No, they're going in. They're trying to go deep, but nobody is there. Just going to be able to bring down this Tier 1 tower, but stunning himself with this Unstable Concoction before they push on forward, possibly for this Tier 2. Again, they don't have the armlet up on the bear, but they have the Maelstrom, and that's actually a more offensive item. It has greater, if you do the math on it, it has greater damage output than that of the armlet. It just has less armor, less HP regen, so there aren't the defensive properties, but you'll be able to deal with those wall replica illusions easier with the chain lightning that'll occur. And yeah, in general, it's going to be a great item pickup for the Spirit Bear. So they already take 2 towers very, very quickly, defending their own down on bottom. It's not in deny range, so maybe Illidan could have waited just a moment longer to let it get into that 10% threshold. Either way, right now they have such a huge tower gain advantage, and that adds up to a huge gold advantage. Right now, 12,000 in favor of Virtus.Pro, and it doesn't seem like a lead that they're going to be letting go of anytime soon.
Not only that, but at the same time, it looks like Envy is going to struggle to fight. It's not so much the towers as well. Like, the towers, obviously the gold, and that's great, but at the same time, it's the fact that Envy is now going to struggle to find rune to farm. Because, like, even this in the jungle, doing this is really dangerous, just because he cannot tell at any time. You know, Clockwork could come out of nowhere, jump him. You could have the Shadow Blade with the Alchemist just come out and jump him at any given moment. So doing this is, like, he's probably really worried, and he's obviously going to always be watching that map, and as soon as these guys disappear off the map, he's going to get really, really defensive and have to back up. So right now, like, he's confident, because obviously he can see the Alchemist. He's not too worried about it. In fact, they're all teleporting. Kaipi are all teleporting bottom. Going to try and set up a bit of a fight here and smoke gank there. It looks like it's not going to happen. It looks like Virtus.Pro were aware something was wrong and immediately backed off their Blaze.
Yeah, Eternal Envy was kind of baiting it out a little bit, being on the front lines. Could have been susceptible to a gank that they could counter-initiate on, but for right now, just smoking on through. Yeah, Virtus.Pro smells what's up and just is able to fall back from here, which is really, really good for them. At this stage, they only had Dust of Appearance on the Visage, so I'm not sure if they could have even brought down the Alchemist, but they certainly would have been trying to get themselves back in the game, at least picking off a couple supports, and that smoke initiation could have set it up for them, but instead, throwing 100 gold and a little bit of time down the drain. and Kaipi still not finding their comeback opportunities just yet. They still have potential, the Roche Pit especially with the Wall of Replica, Vacuum, and Chronosphere, but it's all about timing, it's all about positioning, and right now it seems to be in favor of Illidan as he goes on in deep onto the Sentry Ward. There's going to be a Fiend's Grip coming on through and big burst damage coming on through, but he gets denied from his own freaking concoction. Couldn't have even planned that better. Pylite goes in for the Fiend's Grip. Arteezy does so much damage that when the concoction pops, it's actually what gets the killing blow.
Kaipi, just nothing is going right from this game. I feel really bad about that. I mean, there's not much you can do about it at all. Now we've got the Surge coming from Darks. He goes back. He only gets the Bear, though. Here we go. Rockets in. Void surges forwards there. Looks like he's going to drop the Chrono, catching two hero. Oh, no, that's actually a Courier. No, that's the Bat, the familiar there. As it looks like he will get rooted up as well as Telekinesis. And it looks like Envy will get taken out. Laguna Blade is backtracked. And Envy will walk away from this Blaze. It looks like we're going to have Lina get melted there by Zeus. And like I said, I mean, pretty much the only thing that's going to keep Kaipi in this match right now is the damage output there of Zeus. The sheer nukes as well as some really, really good Chronos there from Voidal. But that one, though, wasn't fantastic. Only caught one guy, but at the same time, it really split up the fight.
Yeah, very big area denial. TMW should drop. Oh, Battery Assault actually connecting. Too many Stout Shield blocks or whatever. He just is able to survive. Trying to TP out. Arteezy will finish him off, but he did claim a kill in turn on Darkseer. Now come with me. Gets hit by the Concoction. Gonna get dropped down. Another 4-staff forward, but there's gonna be a Nightmare trying to get Arteezy out, but the TP canceled by that Telekinesis, and now he is going to be just on the run from this monstrous ogre, gigantic purple thing, throwing out the concoction. He's BKB'd up, and he will bring down the Zeus. In turn, there is familiar damage as well as Bane's right clicks, trying to bring down Rubik with only 3 armor. He has 2 seconds left on the 4-staff. Will he get it? Down to the low ground. He will survive and be able to fall back from here, but that was very, very close call indeed. Now we see Illidan on the run, trying to pursue after Pilot Eye, but he will be able to juke in the trees and should be able to escape on out, waiting for mana to regenerate before he can actually use a TP scroll, no problem at all. But that team fight was very, very interesting. We saw the breakup a part of the fight from Eternal Envy with that Chronosphere, and hitting it only really on the lone Druid, but in turn the Rubik stealing it only was able to drop it down on 2 heroes himself. The Darkseer certainly wasn't going to fall in it, so it was kind of just a delay tactic for Virtus.Pro, and unfortunately they ran out of time pretty quickly there. The lone Druid and Lina dropped, but because the Laguna Blade was backtracked, that kind of got RNG'd right there, as Eternal Envy was still able to head on out of there safe and sound. Getting a little bit of a comeback here, but despite some nice maneuvers, I still think Virtus.Pro got a couple of key kills. That means that they're not losing their lead just yet. They're definitely holding the reins and have most of the control over the map.
Well, at the very least, they held on to, at the very least for Kaipi, they held on to the tower, but it is falling. It's going to fall the next time they try and push in here. Lina is also getting close to having a mech up, which is really going to help keep them in these fights to help them sustain the push. So the other thing they're going to be looking for, obviously, is for somebody to pick up one of those pipes as well to keep, so they can try and dodge some of that damage there from Zeus. Zeus, of course, causing a horrendous amount of damage. It looks like we've got an invisibility rune here on Faceless Void. Might be able to try and pick something up, or at least set up a fight. He's just going to scout out most of the trouble, though, and see exactly what's happening here, and they can decide whether or not they want to engage. It looks like we might have a bit of a fight starting up, Blaze.
Yeah, just curing up. They've already dropped down the acid spread. They won't have that negative armor in the fight. Eternal Envy pops off the Mask of Madness, trying to get on in. He does go for the time lock, pops off his BKB, gets the Chrono on top of Illidan, charging up that concoction. They're bursting him down pretty hardcore. Will he deny himself again? Are you serious? Chronosphere comes on out from the Rubik on top of 2 of his allies. Telekinesis coming on out. They do put him inside the Wall of Replica, forcing them to fall back at least from here. Familiar's doing work up against the Clockwork, but Eternal Envy's not done yet. Comes in with the Iron Shell active. There's the Soul Assumption going on through, as well as some bursts from the Zeus, bringing down KSI, bringing down the Lina. That was a pretty great fight for them, despite a very solid Chronosphere from NS, but in the end, they don't claim the kill of the Alchemist. He once again is able to deny himself through the usage of that concoction. Familiars don't have the Stoneform, unfortunately. They won't be able to bring down the Rubik in their pursuit.
I think a serious problem there for Virtus.Pro is the fact that, unfortunately, Alchemist got picked off so early. And unfortunately, he's like a big source of the damage at this point in time, as well as the fact they couldn't get them underneath that acid spread. So it looks like Kaipi, that's scout out though, the invisibility rune, allowing them to really set up that fight and figure out whether or not they want them to go and see exactly where the reinforcements were going to come from Virtus.Pro. This might actually keep Kaipi. I was really worried for Kaipi, but now, it looks like they might be stalling long enough for Void to get into this game, especially now with the BKB as well. Ambi actually picking up some good goals, good levels. He's got that level 3 ult, but now we've also got the pipe there from Void. Looks like we're going to have Bane picked off fairly easily in the mid lane.
Nice Nightmare attempt, but even better wake up coming in from the support so that TMW could close the distance with a hook shot there, and of course Illidan is the Brawn to back up that initiation. They can always bring him down very quickly. The question is whether or not they'll look at Roshan here. Chronosphere timing, it's 15 seconds off cooldown, even though the mana is definitely in question, but it looks like it's something that they don't want to jump in to too far. They are going to farm up for a moment. Alchemist with the Grievous Greed is just able to top out this GPM uncontested, so he's going to be able to pick up early items like an Assault Cuirass with no trouble whatsoever, and that helps not only himself, but that Lone Druid Bear do so much more damage when it actually gets in the position to right-click. And on top of that, they of course have the Vladimirs, so some great auras there, a little bit of redundancy between the armor auras, but as a whole, they're in a great position to get a lot of great attack speed and just dish out a ton of physical damage, which, when you consider the low armor of some of these supports, I mean, you can't really look at Visage with his Gravekeepers, but you look at the Bane and you see he has 7, that's going to be taken down to 2 when he's in the presence of that Assault Cuirass. So the sooner that Alchemist gets that out, the more monstrous he's going to be in the next team fight.
Yeah, I mean, we've got to keep in mind, as much good farm and levels Envy's gotten out of those last couple of fights, at the same time, it is sort of a 2v1 going into this late game. Void is going to be up against both a sufficiently farmed Lone Druid. Like, Lone Druid is doing pretty well for himself. He's got a Basher, he's got the Maelstrom, he's got the Vladimir's offering, as well as a fairly farmed Alchemist. Obviously, Alchemist up there on the top of the GPM chart. But you see that both of them are ahead of him, so it's going to be fairly mean going into this late game, especially both of them start picking up stuff like the Bashers or the Abyssal Blades. It's going to be very difficult for Void to start competing with that, just with the amount of lockdown. He's going to be competing with the Bears, Roots, obviously the Bash as well from the Bear, and if we see Illidan here with his Alchemist go down the same route, just the amount of lockdown towards that late game is going to be difficult for them to compete with, I think. Yeah,
absolutely. You can't, putting all your eggs in one basket can be a very, very dangerous proposition. If the Entangles or Bashes do luck on through, we already see Eternal Envy taking a lot of right-click damage from the Lone Druid alone, and now Chronosphere actually turning things around a little bit, but here comes that hook shot, not actually going to go the full distance. Now with the BKB popped out, there's going to be a Veil, a lot of damage going across, nice pipe from TMW, but nullified completely really quickly by the Zeus. Either way, KSI getting out 300 HP, getting a bash on Eternal Envy, and he will be dropped down along with Arteezy getting dropped himself, stole the Thunder God's Wrath, gets full vision and a bit of damage on every single member of Kaipi, and is now going to try to bring this down right here. The concoction should go across, Light Strike Array, and that's going to be the death of the Bane. So really, really good cleanup, and that was like a 4v3, not even worried about the Visage or the Darkseer, not involved in that engagement whatsoever. Eternal Envy engaging on his own terms, but unfortunately one that just, well, he wasn't suited for.
I was going to say bad hook there for Clockwork, but he redeemed himself. Really good cogs there. Just pushing Envy away long enough for Lone Druid to back out. Obviously, he did get finished off in the end there by, I think it was some nukes there from Zeus, but in the end, like, it just bought him enough time to just finish him off there with that, or just to finish off poor old Envy there with those cogs. So it was nice work from there. But it looks like they'll pick off this tower at long last. And right now, with Zeus down and Void down, there's not a lot the Kaipi can do to defend. They might actually just see them push forward, try and put some damage here on this tower. No, it looks like they will back off. I've got to say, though, look at the defensive wards from Kaipi in their own jungle here. We've got 4 wards watching their jungle play, or rather 3, and then 1 watching the top lane. They're really trying to keep this under control. Actually, probably the only other thing that Virtus.Pro could have really done to set off their early, like to really set them up for their early mid game, would have been to buy an early gem. Something we see teams do, buy a gem around about the 15 to 20 minute mark, is they'll get that gem if they're ahead, and then that just allows them to strangle control the map, just shut down any kind of vision that their opponents can put up very, very easily. But it looks like they didn't go down that road.
Yeah. The importance of the observer wards that they've had here is mostly about the Alchemist Shadowblade. Of course, you can't detect it without the sentries or other forms of detection, but the big thing here is seeing it coming. If you know that he Shadowblades up, you know the threat, and you can either back off, or you can use a cooldown such as Thunder God's Wrath or Chronosphere, as we saw in that top lane fight that they did win out. And once you know his relative positioning, the timing of his Shadowblade, the vector that he's going, kind of showing where he wants to strike, then you can kind of predict where he's going to be and be able to deal with it, either with sentries and dust, or with a couple of their powerful cooldowns, which kind of nullify the invisibility component of this Shadowblade. So they want to be able to see things coming, and that's what the observers are all about. Unfortunately, most of them are going to be expiring in just a short while, so that means that they are going to be a little bit blindsided. But that being said, they've already lost their tier 2, and that you can expect in that kind of position. They're not really going to be holding to that as much as they would prefer to.
Well, they've got a couple in stock, so they should be able to replace at least a few of them in a short moment's notice. That said, though, just looking at Virtus.Pro, they're all bought out of wards. Lena's carrying 2 at the moment, but they are pretty much out. Their thing is empty, though the shop's empty at the moment. So we're going to see the glyph up here. I think they're just trying to buy time for Void to trade for towers because they're not coming to defend this bottom tower. Actually, no, I speak too soon. They're smoking up and they should be heading in to try and pick someone off. As there we go, there's the transfer there. Going to teleport over to the top lane. The Radiant going to try and keep their tower intact. And meanwhile, that smoke gank is now going to be executing. They're going to charge in and look for a potential kill. Although it doesn't look like the Dire are going to find anything here, Blaze.
Nope, just cogs coming on through from the clockwork, and the Lone Druid immediately fall back, only using the bear to farm from the high ground. And from that position, the smoke is yet again wasted. Just unfortunately, a good intention. They were trying to pick up stragglers for anybody that did retaliatory TPs towards that top lane, but not finding too much here. Fortunately, because they did bait out the TPs, now it means that Virtus.Pro is very immobile. Clockwork, the only one who can really get in there easily, that and Lone Druid, and that gave them the opportunity to try to go for the Roshan. Unfortunately for them, too much knowledge from TMW. He's able to use a rocket flare, scout that out immediately, and stop that proposition before it even started.
Yeah, well, I mean, Virtus.Pro, I mean, they can see a fair amount of the map. Their creep wave is pushing up the top lane. They've got a jungle that spots a bit into the... They've got a ward that spots a bit into the jungle, and they just seem like there's nobody visible. They still Void back off, but they're like, well, nobody on the Dire team is visible. Let's just check out Roshan, because obviously they could be after that. I've got to say, a really nice... I liked what Kaipi tried to do there, where they tried to use the glyph just to buy time for Envy to finish pushing the top lane. It didn't work out in the end there, and they immediately, as soon as some of the guys TP'd out, they saw like 3 people TP out, they went and charged in with that smoke, trying to pick off stragglers. It was I think a really well planned maneuver. It didn't quite pay off for them, which is unfortunate, but at the same time, I really like what they did there.
Yeah, absolutely. Good intentions. Unfortunately, that's just not going to cut it in this circumstance, because Virtus.Pro are just really, really good in safe, conservative play until they want to go aggressive. They're a very aggressive team as a whole, and we're going to see that here. Going in on top of 1-7, trying to burst him down. Mechanism is on cooldown because he used to heal from Thundergrods, and as a result, there's going to be a huge burst from that Laguna Blade, and he's going to be completely destroyed before either spell gets dropped down. And RTZ lifted on up will be dropped down as well. 2 quick and easy pickoffs. We did see Clockwork drop down, but honestly, that's not going to show. Oh, Entangle proc comes on through. Eternal Envy was trying to TP away, and the Entangle interrupts it, now being bashed on down. He gets dropped, has to buy back immediately. KSI coming on top of Come With Me. The Stoneform does some work here, but just too many people on top of one poor little Visage. He's going to get dropped down very, very quickly, and the Roshan should be theirs to claim. I mean, yes, they have the Chrono, but they don't have the Darkseid to back it up, not for a full 15 seconds, and that's plenty of time for Virtus.Pro to just claim this Rosh extremely quickly. And, yeah, it was already below half HP, so it shouldn't be a few more seconds before they get the Aegis and put that up, I believe, on the Alchemist.
Yeah, it looks like they will manage.
Oh, Deny comes on through. Really, really nice play from Come With Me, using his one familiar that was still alive, actually able to make sure that not a single one of Virtus.Pro is able to pick that up.
Oh, Visage, nice. I thought Envy was swinging around from the bottom lane. I thought he was going to go for a steal, jump in, drop the Chrono and go for the steal, but no, he wasn't going to make it in time, and Visage drops the Deny. Nicely done there from Kaipi. For whatever else has gone wrong for them, they have managed to sneak in a few good little plays like that. Oh man, I think that's definitely irritating for us. But I mean, they had the option of going for the Aegis, or they had the option of trying to bust. I mean, they could have gone for a tower there. I mean, they could have just continued to try and bust down mid. They might not have got the racks, but at the same time, I think they probably could have at least taken the tower and opened up the mid lane to being racks there. I mean, it would have taken them all of one more good fight like they had there, which they definitely have the potential to get at this point in time. I mean, they're ahead by 10 kills, and they've got all the power in these fights. They could have quite easily done that. So, oh, that must be frustrating for them. So many wasted opportunity. They have a feeling that it must be a wasted opportunity.
Yeah, unfortunately. I mean, they still, of course, get the gold and the experience, but that Aegis Immortal is a pretty big component to have for their next big push. I mean, they've had really, really good fights before just based on their pickoff potential. Going in on that Darkseid from before, his mechanism was actually on cooldown because Rubik had used Thunder God's Wrath just because it was about to expire as far as the spell steal components goes, so he's just like, okay, use it real quick, and Bone 7 in turn is just casually using that mechanism, but not having it available meant he dropped extremely quickly, and that was a really, really good pick. But you can't count on those little opportunities every single situation, and that's where you kind of want that fighting stance to be available with a second life up on one of your hard-hitting carries there. So in this position, they have that much less potential. They're going to have to be careful about trying to force high ground. That would have guaranteed the easy opportunities to go for the high ground previously, but now they're going to have to continue to just move on around, get some good wards up, and look for pickoffs.
Just speaking of fighting stance, I was going to say I like the position that Ambi was in, although he's moved away now. He's no longer sitting that little spot up there, getting ready to blindside Virtus.Pro from behind there. Now he's going to be a little bit more predictable, but we'll see whether or not he can get off a good Chrono here, because they really will need that excellent Chrono to hold this tower here, as it looks like they're just going to use the bear to chip away at the tower. We'll get enfeebled though and smashed by nukes. Look at that bear get wrecked. They do have another one in the pocket though, so they can continue to try and chip away at a distance like that. I mean, they've got rid of about a fifth of its health there, so I mean, they keep that up. just continually push like that, they can cause a lot of grief. As we see, they are being spotted up though in the dire jungle though by that nicely placed ward. So Virtus.Pro are going to be given away there.
Yeah. So at this stage, what do you think Virtus.Pro needs to take the high ground?
Look and see exactly what they're doing right now. See this ward that they've placed down there. Envy now a little bit where I think he heard the Shadow Blade though. Something must have set off his spidey senses. Will get clocked there by that unstable concoction. But that is exactly, see this ward hit. That was really well done there by Virtus.Pro. Didn't quite pay off them. I think I'm pretty sure the noise from the Shadow Blade gave the game away. Might have wanted to open up with a hook shot there from Clockwork, but at the same time, had they managed to get that pick off there, I mean, Void, I don't think he would have had buyback at the moment. Yeah, he's still 1.5 minutes cooldown there. So that would have been what they needed to push in and just bust down a Rax there on the high ground.
But not finding those pickoffs mean they still have to play the waiting game a little bit here. They had kind of even themselves out in terms of the mechanisms with Lina picking hers up, now has a Ghost Scepter on top of that. They do also have some good lockdown with this Abyssal Blade available, going for Eternal Envy once again. Gonna be able to get the concoction off here. Big right clicks will come out. He has that Abyssal to drop it down. We'll be able to stun him out. Is the damage there though? No, Fiend's Grip and the Chronosphere both dropping on down. Eternal Envy swinging away with that Mask of Madness. Has to fall back though. The lifesteal is insufficient. And Illidan will be able to walk away, forcing out 2 ultimates, 1 Fiend's Grip, 1 Chronosphere, for a little pick attempt. Instead, they're going on top lane.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think this will work though, because Void has to heal. He's going to spend a lot of time healing. Look at this tower. It is going to get shredded in just a second there, assuming that Bear can actually deal a lot of damage. He's lost a lot of damage there.
So big vacuum coming on in.
Going to go down there. So Thunder God's Wrath as well. Bear is down, but the tower is down as well, Blaze.
Ooh, and S dropping quickly. There is a pipe. There's a mech to try to keep him on up, turning things around. The Laguna and Lightning Bolt both connect on top of the Faceless Void. He's falling back. They force down the Rubik, though, with a couple good long-range nukes, and he has to buy back on into it. We'll see if they can actually pull this into a tower kill up on top. They've already taken the tier 3. Want to go for those racks, but Rubik is, taking the long road, waddling back up to the top lane here. And meanwhile, Kaipi's at full strength, just needs the Faceless Void to heal up a little bit faster because these racks are dropping quickly. Fortification popped off. Here's Bone Seven with another big vacuum. The wall committed this time around, trying to do as much damage as possible, but nothing dropping just yet. TMW is slowed on up. There's so many Lucians here ready to go for him, but can't actually close the distance. There's Eternal Envy, slowing him down, bashing him up. TMW will fall, going on top for the next target. Ghost Scepter comes out from Lina. She will survive. Illidan on the front lines will try to bring down Bone 7 in turn. Eternal Envy does get dropped down from the lone Druid's Bear, just swinging away, and Come With Me will be dropped as well. No mana available. Just finished off as Familiars will still do work on KSI, but using most of their attack damage charges, they're not much of a threat. Now going on in, buybacks come on through, and that's enough for Virtus.Pro. They can back off from here, happy to have wasted that much gold from Kaipi, but they're not gone yet. Now they are finally falling back on, and it looked like a really, really good fight for Virtus.Pro as a whole.
Oh, definitely. I think there is no way we could even try and argue that Virtus.Pro did not come out ahead there. I mean, they didn't quite. I mean, obviously they could have maybe got the melee racks, except the glyph was up during the middle of that fight. But at the same time, I mean, Elder's going to take him. Uh-oh, Void about to get clobbered once again. Abyssal Blade is down. They should be able to escape. In fact, I think he must. Does he have a gem, or did his spidey senses go off once again?
Very, very.
Actually, I think he caught sight of Rubik there, gave the game away.
Yeah, very, very active with those time walks, just getting out of dodge over and over and over again. A lot of threat. He realizes it, and he responds amazingly well. So these are a lot of pickoffs that a lot of carry players would just have fallen to multiple times over, and from there, yeah, the game is practically over because you can't defend when you have your buyback on cooldown, and your carry just isn't going to be able to do the damage. So that's a pretty big deal, but still flexing his muscles, Illidan has been pretty much the one that has that control and can always be the threatening presence.
Actually, I've got to give a shout out to Kaipi. They've been using the vacuum there just really, really effectively. Vacuum the Darks, it opens up with a vacuum, and then Zeus immediately throws down that Veil of Discord and then starts slamming out his nukes. It does so much damage, and of course a static field as well. Just really drilling VP in terms of their health pools. And that's pretty much what's forced them to back off all these times and picking up those nice little pickoffs there on the Lina as well as the Clockwork from the last fight. But it looks like they've got possibly a smoke gank. No, I don't think they can afford to. This Rax is too low on health. They're just going to have to man up and fight on the front lines here. And it's going to come down to that vacuum, Void Chrono, and then throw down some nukes from Zeus to hold this one in. So it looks like, there we go. It looks like they're just going to charge it here. Glyph is not up, and they will just drill down the barracks before anything can be done. Fortunately, Void does not jump in time with his ult. In fact, Envy, what is he doing? He's smoked up and just standing around in the jungle here. It looks like they're going to hope to get a pick off. There's the vacuum as well there.
They're waiting for a full team. They want to go for a full team wipe. They are not settling for just 1 or 2 pickoffs, but unfortunately, his hesitation cost them the racks there.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they looked like they were drawing for a smoke gank on the map, but I didn't think they could afford to, and they couldn't afford to try and do anything fancy. They just had to man up and fight because, as we saw, Rax is gone now, and that puts them in a really bad spot.
Yeah, at this stage, even with crit, Eternal Envy just feels so far behind. Comparatively, he doesn't even have half the net worth of this Alchemist, and so he's always on the run, always just trying to hide and farm, and as scalable as he may be, the most high potential hero in this game specifically, it's not really coming into fruition here as we see a 20,000 net worth Lone Druid stacking up. He already has, of course, his Basher and a couple other ways to lock down the Faceless Void. On top of that, that Abyssal has been doing work. Nice time walk, barely getting away from that hookshot. It's only rank 2, and Clockwork, despite using the Force Staff, can't get the distance on it to actually lock down the Faceless Void. But still, the fact that he's always constantly on the run, it kind of limits his farm, and that's where Illidan is kind of thriving, where he has Graveless Greed, has had this Midas all game long, and is able to just get so much gold. Cash in pocket. He's going to go for, it looks like Boots of Travels next, as he's already sold off his treads.
I mean, why not? This bear, also, the bear is pretty ridiculously rich as well. Daedalus, Basher, Vlad, Mjolnir. There's not a lot you can do to compete with that bear at the moment, as it looks like they're going to try and set up, looks like Virtus.Pro are just going to set up their push here on the bottom lane and just try and take out other racks. Meanwhile, as well, the creep pushing naturally on the top lane. This is going to be very problematic. Envy now, like you said, always on the run. He's running through his own jungle and just trying to find whatever farm he can. Just going to have to settle there for that easy camp for him. Doesn't want to expose himself, though, to line of sight. Doesn't want to go anywhere near those creeps, and they're obviously not worth as much either. But here we go. There's that bear going to chip away from a distance at that tower. And that's all they've got to do, Blaze, is keep chipping away at towers like this.
But the bear dropping very, very low. Will actually drop to 5 HP with that last tower right-click, the medallion doing work there. But no, it still survives. It's still able to be sent back. They re-summon it entirely. So exhausting one bear from KSI. They hold the line for now, but they lose a huge chunk of their tower's HP.
And I mean, at the moment, VP, I mean, time is on their side at the moment. They have plenty of time to mess around, just chipping away at the tower like this. As it looks like they might even just send Alchemist in.
Oh, Eternal Envy, there's the vacuum, the wall. Here comes across that corner sphere. So much damage from that Thunder God's Wrath, bringing down NS before he can steal anything here. But now here comes that Abyssal, locking down Eternal Envy. Can't even time walk out. Too much damage. Ultimates, entangles, everything dropped down on Envy. And Illidan's just too big to bring down himself. They Fiends grip him up, dropping down. They do actually get him with the Soul Something. He buys back immediately. Same thing with the Rubik. Jumping back on, he's going to Boots of Travels to this Siege Creep here and try to get back on into it, but unfortunately Eternal Envy doesn't have the option. He has the cash, but for 15 seconds he's still out of it, and Illidan going on the front line trying to bring out Come With Me. He gets him, but sacrifices his own life in the process. Burn down that Alchemist twice over, and with this Nightmare active, they might even be able to clean up TMW. So this was just not the fight that they were looking for. They thought that they had everything going for them when they brought down Envy, but Kaipi is still swinging forward, and TMW now going to be on the run, trying to bait them into the two forthcoming supports, Rubik and Lina, coming on in, and looks like everybody's just going to fall back from here.
Yeah, I mean, I think people really underestimate the sheer amount of damage Zeus can unleash with his nukes, and it's just the fact, it's not so much his nukes, it's that static aura, that static field just does a ridiculous amount of damage. Those strength heroes in the late game just cause a huge amount of carnage. Also the Familiars as well, we saw the Familiars just beating down on poor old Alchemist as well. He probably did not expect exactly how fast he was going to get shredded by that. I mean, I really didn't expect him to drop quite that quickly either. Should mention that this is one of the dangers of playing Lone Druid this late in the game as well, that once you start, and it almost might be time, I think, for Lone Druid to start transferring the items off the bear, because as you can see, he is a little bit poor without that bear. We'll be up in 12 seconds though, but I think it's about time to switch him over. It looks like Lina may get picked off by the Familiars.
Some damage coming in, but she's able to stay active, stay mobile. I mean, the Force Staffs active for NS has been very, very instrumental. Kaipi's been doing some good work with her Force Staffs as well. I mean, I've actually seen like the Arteezy Force Staff forward Familiars to get really cool stone forms off earlier in the game, and they've kind of been active with those pretty well. But the big limitation for Virtus.Pro in that last fight was how split up they got. They had the initiation from TMW, or counter initiation rather, hitting up and cogging in the supports on the northern end with a good hook shot. But that meant that they didn't have the pipe for the rest of the team, and damage just came out so quickly with that Veil. Now coming in the Curse Sphere on a Clockwork, trying to bring him down quickly. The BKB active that will finish off TMW quickly. And that's still Chrono, but it won't stop Envy. And now going in with that Shivas on top of Lina. Ghost Scepter will not save you against all that magic damage. Illidan swinging away, bursting down Eternal Envy. They get the Abyssal, they get the Telekinesis, they finish him off. He has to buy back immediately, coming back on in, TPing to the front lines to try to get back on in this. But right now Arteezy getting entangled up, getting locked down. And now the Alchemist Illusion is actually bringing down KSI very, very quickly. Nightmare up on Alchemist, but still waiting for those reinforcements. Buybacks are everywhere right now, trying to get everybody back on into this. This Roche is the most important thing on everybody's mind right now, but Kaipi seem to be the ones that have the most potential to actually engage on it now that everybody's back up to full strength, and KSI sitting very low, as you mentioned. He doesn't have anything as far as his own items. It's all on the bear, and if he or the bear drop down, it's just too much. But for right now, getting the opportunity to actually pick up the Aegis this time, not going to be denied. And now they can go on forward with 2 lives up on this Alchemist. He's ready to go. Despite the Veil being active, he stuns out RTZ. 3 right clicks. It's all it takes to bring him down. And with this telekinesis connecting and come with me, they'll get another kill. And most of these have been bought back from, so there's really no coming back from this. They've lost so much right here. Gem on the ground. They will pick that up, and they've claimed so many lives. Kaipi, I'm not sure about their positioning there with the supports. They were trying to do something, snipe up the Aegis, I don't know, but desperation in their minds, and unfortunately that shows in their play as they both get picked off.
I think they definitely should have backed up there. Void was nowhere near that fight. He didn't, and the other big thing, of course, once Void's ult's down, I mean, that's pretty much what, like you said, it's keeping them fight. It's what won them that fight down in the bottom lane earlier, was the fact that basically Darkseid got a fantastic vacuum off. Void followed up with a good Chronosphere as well, and that's what they need to try and drill down somebody, pick him off quickly. There we go, that's that blinking Shivas, and there we go. Here's the ult from Void. Time for some damage to come out. Rubik gonna get picked off quickly before he can drop down his own Chronosphere. Gets bashed into it, no, not quite. Does he get a steal off? No, he gets the wall instead, throws it down, as it looks like they will manage to pick off Void in the end there. And this looks like game, set, match.
Yeah, exactly. They've fought so hard, but Kaipi, despite giving it a good fighting shot, come with me, they will say GG. And yeah, really, really well played by Virtus.Pro. They timed it well. They just got so much lockdown, and it was something that Eternal Envy's Void couldn't compete with there. Back-to-back, their Chronospheres were impactful, but they weren't game-breaking. And so the end result is that although they could hold the line while using that Chronosphere when it was unavailable, that gave too many opportunities for Virtus.Pro. And with the huge amount of cash flow they had, the huge gold advantage, they were able to just buy back over and over and kind of just keep on sending in the cannon fodder until they actually connected. And with 2 lives on the Alchemist, so much lockdown with those bashes, it's just hard to come back from it. Kaipi, they do a lot of work, but only 440 gold per minute on Eternal Envy. Comparing that to Illidan's 745, Alchemist just takes this game away, and Virtus.Pro take this best of 1.
I'm going to say, look at the last hits there on Envy. He's got 245 last hits. That's pretty damn good. Compare that to 259 there on the Alchemist. But the thing is, like, he was forced to buy back so many times. His items just stalled out, and I feel really, really bad for Envy there because he definitely got the farm that he wanted, just didn't get the time to turn it into those items. Because, I mean, that could have been a really different game there had he just managed to pick up his next maybe big item and a half. Because you saw that in the end, even though he got down a good Chronosphere in that last fight, he was trying so hard to drill through the Rubik, who just would not go down. They managed to armor him up, heal him up there with a mech, and keep him in that fight. So, I mean, if Void had that next big item, it could have definitely been a different game. But, you know, Virtus.Pro, they had their game plan. Took them a little bit longer, I think, than they would have liked, but at the same time still worked out. And they put that pressure in, and in the end, Alchemist plus Lone Druid, just too much for Faceless Void to handle on his own.
Indeed, indeed. So with that, we see that Virtus.Pro will advance forward. They will be going into a best of 1 versus QPad Red Pandas. They were given effectively a free default win from the fact that Alliance were traveling to China right now for the G1, so they are sitting out for this cup, and as a result are forfeiting for this one. I'm sure they'll be able to bounce back on points in the future, but for right now, we are seeing QPad taking that default win and will be Virtus.Pro's next opponents coming up in just a few minutes here. So thank you guys so much for tuning on in. We are still trying out this new format for the Premier League, but hopefully you guys enjoy it as we have back-to-back games going on for the next several hours. So hopefully no more technical issues, but overall some awesome Dota, and I can't wait for the next game. Thank you guys so much for tuning on in. This has been Blaze and Triumph, and we'll be going on into this next game in just a minute here.